that is a wrap of today's freaking awesome back workout that we had today. So I was with Mr. Nick Got Halted over here over the weekend, and we were talking a little bit about training, and we were looking at his back, and he's got a lot of width, like great V-taper, good waist and everything. However, there's just...
Well, thank you, sir.
Oh, no problem. And he's got a lot of thickness to his lower back. So you can see he's done like a lot of deadlifts, sort of lower back work in the past. However, there's just, it's a little bit shallow, if you don't mind me saying, on the upper back in comparison to his, to the width that he's got there. Like thick lats, wide lats. However, the rhomboids, the detail of the traps just need to be pulled up a little bit, because like, look at the size of this guy's arms. He's got big arms. So he pulls a lot with his biceps. So what we tried to do today was do a lot of rowing exercises and try to visualize and like loosen the grip a little bit on a lot of the movements. So what we did was go a lot wider on some of the movements, and like with the bent over rows, like bend right over. So we're not targeting the upper traps, because we've got plenty of upper traps along here. It's just like the mid portion of the traps. So we made sure that we were always parallel. Whenever we were rowing, we were parallel. So when we were on like the rowing bench, we were parallel and pulled our arms up high. Same when we were doing the cables, we pulled back and we were parallel. And the same with the bent over rows and the T-bar rows. You know, we weren't standing up at a 45-degree angle until we got to the last exercise, because I wanted to tap into a little bit of lats there as well. But you know, you'd be surprised, even when you make it a trap dominant day, I still always feel it a little bit in my lats, you know. So
yeah,
it was a good workout. What do you think?
Yeah, like, no, I think it was an amazing workout. You know, I've heard, you know, I've heard you say it before too. You know, you want a big back, you know, a thick back, row, and row some more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the way that he was talking about reminded me. You know, I've heard this before, but it's easier to say it versus do it. And what I'm referring to is leading with your elbows that Kris was talking about. You know, thinking of your mind's eye, not just using your wrists, or you know, loosening your grip and actually leading with your elbows as opposed to your biceps or your grip, and that helped out a lot. Like thinking about that mind-muscle connection versus, you know, here like I'm used to doing. You know, you can see my lats are wanting to take over already just thinking about it. But Kris was telling me, okay, lead with your elbows, and so like you're up. You know, you're pulling more with your traps and your upper back, which is what we were trying to hit. So I think that helped out a lot, and it was a really good workout for that. I know that I'm gonna feel it in my traps and my rhomboids for sure, which is exactly where I was trying to hit. So that was a successful workout.
Yeah,
man.
cool. If we don't feel it tomorrow, we'll probably feel it the next day. Yeah, so what I always try to envision is always pulling with the elbows, not your wrists, not your forearms, not your biceps. And whatever direction I point my elbows is pretty much the part of the back that I'm going to be targeting. So if my elbows are flared out here and here, then the midpoints coming across the back where those muscle fibers contract and pull those elbows is going to be right across the middle fibers of your trap. So that's what I always think. Okay, what part of the back do I want to work today? Well, that's the direction that I'm going to point my elbows, so I can target that area, you know, and you know, try to like shorten that range of motion with your bicep. So if you're doing a lot of row movements like this, obviously there's a lot of bicep flexion here. If we go out a little bit wider, there's less bicep flexion. So I always try to take that out a little bit wider, to really target those areas as opposed to leading with your biceps. You know?
For sure. One thing I want to mention too that you really helped me out with when we were doing the horizontal row, the hammer rows, I'm trying to lead with my elbows as well, but most people say absolutely keep your chest on the pad no matter what. Well, Kris told me, you know, he gave me that cue at the end of each rep, you know, to pretend the pad's here, pull off just a little bit, you know, keep my lower back tight, making sure everything's safe, making sure the movement's good. But as I arch my back a little bit more, I'm able to contract the muscle that much deeper, and that really hit it a lot better.
Yeah, because I don't know why people say keep your chest on the pad, because the thing is, like for instance, if you are doing any sort of rows and you're kind of parallel or even rounded, you don't fire your traps or lats, you don't fire your back enough. As soon as you arc it a little bit, you're able to fire it. So if you use this pad to relax against, you disengage your traps or lats, whatever you're working, to a certain degree. So if you can get that extra inch of contraction, and obviously that could be the development that you're missing.
Yeah, and you were telling me to stretch a little bit at the end too. So as we were doing, what was it, man? The first exercise where we're doing seated rows. We're doing seated rows, and each time I'm really extending my muscles at the end of the movement to get a stretch, fascial stretch training, right? So by doing that, it's going to flush more blood in the muscle, right?
Yeah.
And so that was another cue. So the seated rows and the horizontal rows that we were doing, although he's saying arch your back at the end and pull for that contraction, I'm also leaning over the bench just to get a really tight or long stretch.
Yeah.
And that helped too.
Yeah, for sure. So whenever I've trained with bodybuilders in the past that have like a phenomenal body part, I'm always, you know, of course, you know, genetics are going to play to a certain degree, but I'm always obsessing and analyzing and seeing exactly what they're doing. And you know, one of my favorite all-time physiques aren't like the freakiest bodybuilders. It's like Danny Hester. Like he's got a phenomenal back. Well, he's got great physique, but his back is phenomenal. For such a small guy, he's so compact, and you look, it's like, where else could you put muscle and detail in his back? You just couldn't. And what I noticed is that he doesn't necessarily train that heavy all the time, not as heavy as he used to anyway, but man, his range of motion, you just couldn't stretch or contract any more than that guy. Like he really does stretch out that range of motion. So that's what I try to emulate to a certain degree. It's like, okay, no need to go as heavy, because yeah, we are going to probably bring in assisting muscles, our delts, our biceps, our forearms, etc., and we're going to use a little bit of momentum with it, and we could be missing out on that last bit of contraction and that last portion of the stretch. So maybe, you know, lighten the weight a little bit till you get it.
Absolutely.
Forget about the weight. Once you get that form, you're like, okay, now I've got the mind-muscle connection. Then you can go a little bit heavier.
Yeah. I will say this too, for a call to action for you guys. You're watching this, which is awesome content. There is a free video on his YouTube of him, Kris, training with Danny Hessler, I believe so, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
It's awesome, man. It shows exactly what we're talking about, arching the back, and then he's really just contracting the muscle hard, and you're not even using much weight.
No. I found it really hard to get a contraction out of my back, to be honest with you, because we were training so light.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, man, that guy, he's just got such an intense connection.
Forces you to do something different.
Yeah, but Danny trains 7 days a week. He doesn't take a day off. So he says, like, if he was to train extremely insane and heavy all the time, yeah, he'd have to take days off, but he doesn't want to. Because he says, look, I've built the physique that I want now, I'm refining it, so I come in every single day to refine my sculpture. So, you know, that's what he does. He has done for a long, long time.
Awesome.
No days off for Danny.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. Always a bloody good workout with you.
Thanks for having me,
Mr.
man.
Holt.
Hopefully you guys found this video to be of value, because I certainly did. I'll let you know how sore I am tomorrow.
All right.
I kind of hate him and I love him at the same time, right?
Yeah, as soon as he takes his top off and shows me those abs, I'm like,
Whatever.
you motherfucker too, so I'm like, kill you now.
Whatever.
All right, thanks guys. Peace.